What's up?
Yo. Here we are on episode 102 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. This is our weekly chance to get together and talk about trash and business and growing and scaling and building your junk removal dream. I'm Andy Weins, joining you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Big D bound Casey Bubba Lawrence. Casey, what are we going to talk about today?
Word. First off, I'm not from Dallas. I'm from Fort Worth. So let's get that straight. That's where I'm out of. Second of all, I actually heard from you that you have something you want to talk about that you kind of had some experience with the other day. Wait, let me just see what this text is. I knew you'd forget.
I know. I saw Jordan Peterson last night. That was fucking awesome.
4 packs of basketball cards.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, yeah, also that. Yeah, no, I have, for the last like 3 weeks, I've had these 4 packs of basketball cards at my desk because they came off a job, and we got like 100 packs of unopened cards. And I loved basketball cards growing up. The challenge is 93, 94 is a rough year because Jordan didn't play that year, and there's no like significant rookies. Like Shaq was a rookie the year before, 92, 93. And so yeah, I have 4 packs of cards. We might, and I don't, I have watched a few times where people are like, let's sit there and open the cards, and they're like flippy flip. So we might do that. That's actually, we might, we will do that.
It's funny because I was at my dad's house this weekend, and I found this old framed thing that had all these cards on them, these baseball cards, and they're all in their little glass containers, whatever. It's from when I was a kid, man. And I was like, man, I just don't follow card trading that much to know if these are even important. But I remember one row, and I have it in my truck, but one row was all Mark McGuire, all his different cards, his rookie card and on up. And I remember that was in 1998, while my sister was being born, is when he cracked the home run record. And we were watching while Caitlin was being born. We're like, hold on, wait a second.
Yeah, that one barely got, I remember watching it live. It barely got over the wall.
Yeah. But I mean, the other ones, obviously I know the players, I recognize them, but man, I just don't know, what cards are worth what. And,
yeah,
I just have to look into
it. These packs unopened are worth like $2 a piece. So we're not, right? We're not, I mean, I'm not retiring on what may or may not be in these 4 packs of cards. I'm more interested. I'm more interested in the smell. I love the smell of fresh.
They used to come with bubble gum.
They used to. Baseball did. Basketball cards.
Yeah.
When I was collecting, never. They smell like new cards. And the weird thing is, like when we get new promo material, it's that same smell. It's like that whatever lacquered paint smell. I love that smell. Right. Actually, Carol and I were talking about that this weekend. Because I have a food allergy. Whenever I eat something that I'm questioning, I'll smell it first. So why do you always smell shit? I'm like, you gotta know. Or like if I grab a shirt and I'm not sure if it's clean or dirty, like we're on vacation. So like I had a dirty pile, and then I had a maybe clean pile, and then I had a clean pile, right? So like you smell the maybe clean stuff, like like how not like it's where you're gonna wear like a beach cover up, like I have a Savannah Bananas baseball jersey. I'm going up to the beach, like it doesn't have to smell that great, right? It's probably gonna smell like sunscreen and ass a little bit, right? I'm okay with that. I got to walk 50 feet and put the old toes in.
It's funny because we used to partner. So this is actually really important. Obviously, this goes back into partnerships, but we partnered with a game and sports memorabilia place down the street from our shop, and they would come by if we ever saw something that was like unique figurines or stuff still in the packages. And he'd come by and just take a look. Hey, I'm interested in this, and whether he'd buy it from us or not, he would tell us like, "Hey, yeah, I think I'd like this, and I'll give you $10 for it." Or, bring it by the shop. Let's put it on consignment. It was very important because I would say probably 2 or 3 times a month, maybe twice a month. Not even that. Not even 3 times. Twice a month, we'd probably give him a call. Hey, found something that might fall in the realm of what you do. And that's the funny thing was. Like this statue, man, I still have this thing. Oh my gosh, it's completely freaking heavy. God.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, that thing's awesome.
Well, I just want to get rid of it, and I don't know how because I can't
Bring,
find this thing online anywhere. I found the artist, I found other sculptures, but this exact one, I
it,
cannot find it anywhere.
next time you come up here, put it in your check bag.
Holy shit! This thing's like
I'll,
40 pounds, 40, 50
that's fine.
pounds.
Put it in your carry on then. I don't give a shit. Bring. I'll take it.
The Peacemaker by Richard Muno.
I don't give a shit, man. It looks cool.
Yeah, that's cool,
I'll take it.
and it's all
All right.
bronze.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bronze ain't that fancy, not compared to brass.
Hey man,
Yeah, I'm throwing it out there. All right, so let's do this. Let's today we don't have a guest, and we knew that coming in it. So Taylor said there's some stuff on the internet he would like answered. My challenge to the people that are live watching us right now: throw up some questions. I'm going to open some cards. I will talk. You know, a lot of people are complaining about this year being slow or whatever. We had our
oh man,
monthly KPI report. I'm fucking killing it this year. That's a fact, Jack. Right? We are up year over year. We are up year over performa. We have an extremely aggressive growth goal this year. We had a very aggressive growth goal last year.
Mhm.
And here's what I will say. I'm gonna say this out loud. So we finished. So the first 2 weeks of the month were very strong in February, and then the third week was all right, and then the fourth week we really puttered towards the end, which is unusual. Normally, end of the month, beginning of the month, that's when we see the most
You also
work
had warmer
because
weather than usual.
right. That's things we had warmer weather, and then the March 1st we had a fucking rock solid day, and that was that
Mhm.
Friday of that week. And Fridays typically be our heaviest days. So it's like February, we finished strong. We made our numbers, and we didn't finish. We finished okay. We were definitely on the decline. And then March kicked ass, and then last week we just puttered. Now it had nothing to do with me
Really?
being on vacation. It was we had one big job pushed to this week. We had another job that we anticipated going that didn't happen. And now this week we have more work booked this week than we already did last week. So we're
Mhm.
already in a good shape. So this is my hypothesis. People go on social media when they're slow to bitch, and when they're busy, they just don't go on social media because they're I don't hate to say busy because they're productive. So
No,
I go
not
right,
always.
not always, but how often do people are there like, hey, I had a great week, keep kicking ass?
Mhm.
No, people want to be bitchy and negative, right? And the guys that are kicking some ass, I'm not going on social media to tell people how awesome I am and how great I did this week. I'm
Mhm.
fucking running my goddamn business. So yes,
Well,
there
what's
are
it
all
is,
there's
it also goes towards your clients though, right? I
what's that?
mean, depending on your clients. So, okay, for instance, I notice this a lot. So, in the big groups, you see people market their business. I'm like, that
Yep.
doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, hey, man, like rep in Idaho Falls junk removal on something that has 20,000 members. That's all junk removal companies, and
Yep.
they'll put an actual ad in there like it's if you need junk removal, call us. I'm like, all right, bet, man. I'll steal that
Yep.
from Andy's book. Bet. I'll call you. Hey, I got a couch. Where you at? Fort Worth, Texas. What's up?
Yep.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Then I notice the coaches and the other lines of business that work with junk removal, they're actually out there like, hey, I had a slamming week, and these three junk removal companies are
Sign with
kicking
me.
ass because it's
Oh,
A, B, and
yeah.
C. And it's kind of like, man, I like that because they're saying, hey, I'm doing great, but I also brought some other people in the picture that are doing great too. And here's why, right?
Well, here's the deal. Also, if you're selling to junk removal companies, it does you no good to bitch about having a slow week because
No.
then no one, the misery doesn't want, yeah,
Yeah. And
misery
that's the
doesn't
other.
want that
So
company.
I saw, and I made a call on a company I was working with. I don't know, 6 months ago. Yeah, November is when we ended our contract, and I was 100% right from the day that I actually started. The first day that we signed a contract together, we started working together. I knew they were not going to last. I figured they were not serious about this business.
Yep.
They they had money, family money, right? Mom and dad money,
Yep.
but I think it was more of the son was just bored and
It's
just didn't see the interest in it.
not a great reason to start a business. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, and,
If boredom
and
is the
that's the thing is
reason,
his reason was he didn't want to be in an office all day. Hey, okay, I can respect that, but at the same time, everything I saw from him and his wife, they were always traveling and doing all this great stuff, which I was like, that's great. But you don't see that in the first year of business when you're starting a business.
No.
Well, come to find out, I mean, he's not in business anymore, right? Here we are, March, and they close it down because I'm like, hey, look, I wasn't going to stay with him past 6 months because I wasn't getting what I needed as his coach. And
Yep.
that's the thing is, not all coaches are like that. A lot of coaches won't be, hey man, if you don't bring your shit to the table, I'm not going to do business with you. No, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'll keep working with you because they want that money. For me, I felt like it was just kind of like showing up to a meeting and you just have nothing to say. Just like, why am I
Yep.
here? A waste of time for both of us. And it was. And now they're not in business anymore, which sucks, but hey, it is what it is. Now, the other people that I've seen just firing on all cylinders all year long, and this year, for some reason, has just been this Q1 has been crazier than I've seen in a couple years, I think, from me. Well, they're actually out there just doing great. Now, I talked to my old business that I sold. I talked to them pretty frequently, and he's like, I need people. I'm hiring. I'm hiring. I'm hiring. I'm like, that's funny because one thing, and I'm sure all of our listeners can say, no matter how good or bad you're doing in this business, you're always hiring. It seems, or you should be. And that's right now his number one pain point is hiring, not so much as getting jobs. He's getting the business. He can't hold it all right now. So
Yes.
I don't know if it's an economic thing, or maybe it's because people are just like ready for Trump to take back over. But business is picking up pretty soon right now.
Oh,
You hear that? Choo choo! That's the
yeah.
truck train pulling in the
Trump train,
station.
baby. Uh, well, we went a whole 12 minutes without mention of it. So here we go. No, for us, the milder weather has benefited. Also, I have not
Yeah,
seen a lot of my fucking ankle biter competition types. Right?
really.
What the hell? You learn how to fucking do banners there? Or is that fucking was that Taylor doing that? That must be
That's
Taylor.
Taylor, man.
The ticker. Um, yeah, that's he doesn't even do you guys even have a saying like
How
go
about them Cowboys?
Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? Yeah, you guys don't like chant it though. Like, yeah, like go pack go. Like, that's a solid chant.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have a chance. I mean, this isn't college, but I don't know.
Well, we don't have cheerleaders, and you guys do, and that's I suppose if I had a choice between cheerleaders or a chant, I'll be honest. Cheerleaders.
Cheerleaders.
All right. Here we go. All right. Without further ado, I gotta open up one of these packs. I've been waiting a month to do this.
Do it.
I'm opening this pack. I'm excited to be doing this. We're gonna flip. We're gonna not look. So I gotta hold it up in the camera. All right. First one, Eric Ridley. Oh, you know what? They're like sticking together. This will be a colossal letdown. They're all stuck together. Oh, they're just a little. I mean, it's been 30 years. Let's be honest. 93, 94, 30 years. These have been chilling, and I'm about to screw it up. All right. You hear that? You hear the crack? Cracking. All right. Eric Ridley, second round draft pick. No big deal. Never heard of him. David Wesley, rookie free agent. Never heard of him. Mario Ellie, Houston Rockets. I'd be lying if I said I heard of him. Randy Brown. Hold on. Randy Brown played for the Bulls, won 3 championships. Came off the bench, played the 1 behind Ron Harper. Randy Brown. I know him. Oh, here's a Bulls player. Dave Johnson. I know him. All right. We're getting some there. Mark Aguirre. No clue who that is. Uh-oh, we got a good one here. We got a good one. I might have this card already. Alonzo Mourning. Money. That's a guy. Man, I might need, there it is. There we go. I don't, you can clearly see how I don't know how. I'm going to put that one to the side. All right. Johnny Newman. No. Eldon Campbell. Oh, yeah. Eldon Campbell played for the Lakers. I remember him. Haywood Workman. Never heard of him. Bill Wennington. Big Bill Wennington won 3 championships with the Bulls. I think it was when they did the second three-peat was there. Big Bill Wennington. Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp is famous for having 9 kids with 8 baby mamas. I don't remember him playing for the USA team. And obviously it was an Olympic team, 93, 94. And then Byron Russell, Utah Jazz, most famous for Michael Jordan shooting his final shot as a Chicago Bull over him. No big deal. There we go. There is my wealth of NBA knowledge from the mid-90s. and a pack of cards that's probably worth less than $2. They were worth unopened. I'll be honest. Hold on. I never smelled them. That was the one thing. Oh, they still got it. They still got it. That is, you know what? I should keep these around like cocaine. Like every time I'm not feeling good about myself, smell the cards. Be like, here, what's up? Grab now. You know what?
bro.
Another go, bro. Here's the deal. I have actually a whole case of cards over there. The thing about getting things off of jobs for the people that sell them and do well, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
When you scale, it is difficult. I'm not going to say difficult. It is complicated to have a business wherein the resale and the service revenue complement each other. Like for us, our resale / recycle revenue is 4% of our total revenue because we focus so much on the service side of the house. And when I've seen businesses, because there's a business argument to why I open those cards. When I've seen the businesses where one person is running the two sides of the house, hey, the removal and the resale, they put in these artificial ceilings because you're going to struggle to have vision for both. Now, my cousin
Is that
runs
what
a
you want to talk about?
We can talk about that. It came up. I'm waiting for
Yeah.
Why
Go,
can't
bro.
Govro? God, every week. No, I do want to talk about this. So my cousin has a successful removal and resale business. So she does removal, she does rummage sales, she does estate sales. So she started in junk removal when she worked for me. We got another
I didn't
franchise.
know that.
What's that? She worked for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, she worked for me for a period when we were still part of the franchise, and then she got into it with one of my former employees, who's now her business partner, and it works for them. And this is the reason it works for them is because she does a lot of the networking on the front end, networking, marketing, that's her jam, and then she does the back end, which is the resale, and he does all the shit in between, which is the operations, and then for the most part the scheduling, and then the jobs themselves. And she's participating, but she's not in charge though, right? They're kind of there together.
Yeah.
And so it works for them because then he doesn't get involved in the resale. He gets on to the next project. And so for them, it works that they have this resale business and that they have the online auction and also in-person auction because it's two different businesses with two different visionaries running the businesses. There was someone that was part of our franchise network, husband and wife team, same thing. She stayed at home, answered the phones, did the operations, and also they had a rummage sale every Saturday. And so she ran the Facebook, the operations, Facebook, both sides of the house, right? And he banged the jobs. So he went to the networking events, right? So that one's divided because she was home based and he was on the road, right? But there's a clear division of responsibilities. When I see people in these groups that are like, oh yeah, I'm doing resale business, it's like, all right, well, you're doing removal and then you start doing resale. Well, now you got more removal. There's another woman who was part of our franchise out in Maryland, and she had a restore and it started really doing well. Well, then her removal slowed down. So then she started doing more removal and then her restore slowed down. And then she ended up getting rid of the removal business because or getting rid of the resale business rather, because you can have removal without resale. You can't do the other way around.
Well, that's the other thing is for me, like that's a lot of people, and we saw this in the franchise too. They started the resale portion of it, and then they immediately were like, "Oh yeah, it's the same name,
Yeah.
but resale." And I'm like, "You are an idiot." I was like, first of all, I personally wouldn't even start its own entity. I would have it as a back end revenue stream, which is what we did. We got to the point, I believe it was 11 streams of revenue.
Well, the
Being
thing
our
is,
main
but
service.
correct, but you weren't doing the resale. You wouldn't have a
No,
bit.
that's the
You had
thing.
correct. You had a vendor. That's a
We
huge difference.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We looked at it like a service, except we contracted out the labor portion of it. So
Yeah.
when we would get in items, we had this process. You'd come into the shop, right? You drop off in the front shop, which is our main office and our main warehouse. You drop off the donation items and good items that aren't disgusting or whatever, right?
Yep.
Like if you had a lawn chair that was nice, cool, drop it off there. And that's where you'd put it first. Then they would go to the recycling warehouse. Anything like bulk recycling wise, where it be electronics, appliances, some scrap, whatever, that's where it would all go. Then if you had like mattresses and hardscape and then actual like waste would go out to our yard because our
Yep.
container, you'd put the mattress in the container because we sold those. That was a revenue stream, just so everybody knows. And then the hardscapes, that was we didn't sell it, but it was a very, very cheap disposal method because we did it in bulk. And then the waste would all get put into the dumpster. But in
Yep.
the front end, the donations, right? I actually had a conversation with one of our local charities up here. We haven't worked together in years, so we started talking and catching up. But we had about 11 different vendors that would pick up from us. So in the beginning, okay, we had to go take it to their places. Hey, who would take a couch? It's a nice couch. Where can we take
Yep.
it? Who can take this? Where can we take it? But then we got to the point, as long as we were regular and we were consistent, they would come to us and pick up our stuff. And we would put it in the area for donations. And then as far as the stuff that was for resale, right? We would either if it was a marketplace item, it'd have a marketplace sticker that we put on it. And if it was an auction item, we'd actually have a company that came in every
Hey,
2 weeks,
who did the
and they would
marketplace?
do marketplace was usually my mom, just because she was at the office and she liked doing it. And
Yeah.
as a caveat to our guys, we allowed them to sell things on marketplace as long as they're not selling or doing pickups during work hours. And
Yeah.
our payout was 50%. They could keep 50% of the
How many
cash.
of your guys would how many of your guys would do that consistently?
Two or three, maybe.
Yeah. So the
But you know
guys
what's
always
funny?
the guys will
They
say that.
all of them bitched about wanting more money or more opportunities
I
for
don't
money,
and
but only
I
two
don't
or three of them really actually did it.
that's 2 or 3 more than I ever have. I get guys all the time, "Oh,
Dude,
I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this." And I'm like, "All right."
nope.
And then nothing. Fucking nothing. All right, let's get to
How do
a
you?
question here. I will answer this question immediately because I have the answer because I already do it. Thoughts on
Oh,
delegating bookkeeping services to a third party? Yes.
do it.
Next question. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah,
Here's the deal.
yeah, yeah.
I run the numbers for our company. We had our KPI report earlier today. I build all the scorecards. I build the scorecards. We use EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, so we use their scorecard. I build all the formulas, right? Once the formulas are built, I also in the back end of QuickBooks, I do all the chart of accounts, I do all the products and services. I build it all. I do not go in there every week and click the buttons. I do not reconcile the accounts. I 100% pay people. So Emmy from Squared Away. Squared Away is a third party assistant executive assistant company, and she's awesome. Emmy is amazing. So we had the episode a couple 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago with Michelle, who
Mhm.
founded Squared Away, and the name of the episode is "Get You an Emmy." So I highly recommend getting you an Emmy, 100%. And whether you have a third party executive assistant do the bookkeeping, you have a bookkeeper do it, you have your tax or accounting company that has a bookkeeper on staff, right? There's 3 levels for people. When you hear accounting, there's basically 3 levels. There's bookkeeping, which is your daily or weekly data entry. There is accountant who's doing more of the reconciliation,
Mhm.
balance sheets, making sure everything's jiving, depreciation of assets, right? They're a little bit next up. And then the third level is your tax prep.
X.
Um,
Yeah.
I worked with this lady years ago. She's like, "Oh, I can do it all." And she was a really good bookkeeper that kind of understood taxes.
Can
And
and should are two different things.
that is correct. So, so yes, I would argue you need at least 2. I have a system of 3.
Mhm.
So, and you could
Well,
be one of them. You
and
you could you could be the bookkeeper, or your operations person can be the bookkeeper. We don't have operations do bookkeeping because I look at bookkeeping as more of a financial. If I look at the 6
mhm,
buckets of business,
mhm.
bookkeeping falls under finances, not operations. I've had people want to argue. I will actually. I was going to say I'm not willing to die on that hill. I am willing to die on that hill. I guess because like all of my
But
accounts receivable and payable goes all to admin, which falls under
yeah,
financial.
yeah. But so if you have, let's just say you have three, which is fine.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you don't have to start there. In the beginning, so how we did
No,
it was we started with an
you need an
accountant.
accountant.
Hey,
Great. You need an
and we had
accountant
them.
that makes sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell you
and
how
they
to do
helped
it, and
us
you do it
actually
yourself.
exactly helped us kind of show what
Yeah.
we needed to do to make their job easier. And then the
Yep.
coolest part is as you progress through business, what you really want to do is get your tax prep and your accountant and your bookkeeper all talking the same language, because and this is
Yeah.
why I think it's very important. A lot of times you'll see people are like, hey, I did my taxes this way this year and I got a big return. It was awesome. That's great. But here's the problem. If you're trying to exit a business, it looks way different from when you're trying to just, start out in the first year or two. Now, the other thing is the bookkeeper. A lot of times that accountant will say, hey, I can do bookkeeping as well. That's great for them, but sometimes it won't be good for you because you need to learn how to read that at least enough to say, hey, I'm going to spot check you because this is my business after all. And even though I
Yep.
hired you to do a job, you're human. And if you make a mistake, it falls on me. And I need to make sure I can catch it before it's too permanent.
Yep.
So I still believe getting down
Well,
sitting down
well,
with your accountant and bookkeeper
yep.
and going through it together so that way you can learn, hey, Emmy, how do you do things? Cool. This is
Yep.
how I do it. How can we both understand the same thing?
So and begin with the end state in mind, the end, right? Because I have the way that my tax prep guy does books and the way that I do books for operations is different because he goes off
Oh
of a
yeah.
cash basis, right?
Yeah.
What comes in, and I go
Accrual.
off of accrual basis, right? Which is
Yeah.
when did the thing occur? I don't care that I get paid in 90 days from now. I want to know what work I did this week, not money I
Hmm.
collected this week. So because of that, knowing that end state, like I know I only talk to my tax guy quarterly, and when he pulls the reports, it's going to look different than when I'm looking at it quarterly because I'm on accrual basis. So begin with the end state in mind. I do know companies out there that are on cash basis because that's what their accountant told them to do because it's better for them for tax prep. And then we try to. I coached a guy out of North Carolina, and I'm like, well, how much work did you do last week? He's like, well, we collected this much money. I go, that's not what I asked, right? Because now I'm looking at your hours worked against their dollars collected, and it's not jiving. I can't tell if you're efficient or
Yeah.
not because the money collected, you get a $10,000 check from a job you did 30 days ago. That that doesn't correlate for shit with
Well, the other thing
your job.
is, on QuickBooks, it's just like what you just said. Oh shit.
You know,
Get a phone call.
Timmy Wells. Timmy Wells says, yeah, I have all three done the same person slash
Keep
company with
talking. Let
weekly
me answer this
reports.
phone call.
All right, that's fine. I got plenty of shit to talk about. All right, let's talk about this. Timmy Wells. Yeah, same person, company. Yeah, I would argue not the same person. Certainly the same company, because again, it's going back to what Casey said. Because you can do it all doesn't mean you should do it all. And I also know that a bookkeeper in my market goes billable about $25 to $30 an hour, and a good tax prep person or a good accountant is probably 50 to 90, and a good tax prep guy is over 100 an hour for that. So that's why, and I know that because when I get my bill from my accountant, I get a couple different line items. It's no different than my lawyer, right? When his assistant does something versus the paralegal versus the the junior lawyer versus my lawyer, right? It is way different rates. And it's no different than our business, right? My billable rate, owner of the company, is going to be different than the billable rate of um, my crew chiefs, my team leaders, my junk rule specialists, right? And so, who is the person on that food chain that can do it with the least amount of dollars and equivalent knowledge, right? 2 weeks ago, I ended up banging jobs on a Friday afternoon because that's how the day went. And at the time, yeah, I was the best asset. It is not the best use for our company for me to be go banging jobs every day. No different than it's not ideal to have a tax prep or tax preparer go out and do your bookkeeping. So find the best fit for the company. I do agree with Casey said, same language. And ultimately, you as the company get to decide that. A good accounting company will say, how do you want your reports to look? And they'll adjust because how they do things in the chart of accounts go to you. Mine are super detail oriented. I know that because that's what I want. And then tie those, right? This is where it matters. Like we had our KPI report this morning. So, or this afternoon, just like 3 hours ago. So it's fresh on my mind, right? I tie my accounting right to my marketing company. So I know when I spend dollars on Google, that dollar gets cut up between how many jobs, right? So I can see my customer acquisition costs. I can see my average job size. So it's taken me years, really 8 years to get to a monthly KPI report that I feel really good about the data on. And so it's a couple systems, right? So I have QuickBooks or Jobber, everything goes into Jobber. Let's start there. Jobber is the hub of all things, right? And hashtag love Jobber, get you some Jobber, getjobber.com/camo crew, sign up. I get a few bucks. Fine, good, done. There it is.
Okay.
So this is how it works.
Okay.
I put the data into Jobber. Jobber shits out data to QuickBooks. Then I can pull the QuickBooks data. I can also pull reports from Jobber, which show where my marketing dollars are being spent. And so when I pull those marketing dollars, I then take all that data, put it into Excel. We use Google Sheets because it's simpler to communicate between people. Anyways, so I can say, okay, I spent this many dollars on Google, and of that, I got this many jobs, I got this many leads, this many jobs. Here's my close rate. Here's my customer acquisition cost. Here's my average job size, because not all job lead generations are the same. And then also what I could just see is referrals and existing customers. So I segregate them. Once you've used me more than once, I've now segregated you as existing and or referral work versus new customer generation, because referral work, it costs a lot less, right? So I have my costs associated with it because I still need promo costs. And also then my repeat business, right? And part of my cost of Jobber allows me to do those things. The other thing that we use with Jobber is Nice Job. So Nice Job integrates with Jobber, which sends out emails and text messages after a job asking for reviews first and foremost, which is awesome, and then sends out links for referrals. With our customers, over 30% of our customers end up giving us reviews, which drives up our SEO, which allows us to then track where are our jobs coming from. Our referral rate is over 25% of our total jobs. We get over 25% of them come from referrals. 15% comes from existing customers. So we know that Jobber's integration with Nice Job, consistently staying in front of our customers, asking for reviews, asking for referrals, ultimately leads to us being able to keep or have good data and then make the best decisions based off of that data. So Nice Job integrated with Jobber, absolutely plug it, use it. I love it. I've talked about Nice Job in the past. Now it just kind of worked into the conversation. Nice Job has reached out to me to be, I don't even know, I told you this, Casey, a brand ambassador to talk about Nice Job because they saw that I was already talking about them. So now they signed me up. I'm going to shoot some commercials with them and do a bunch of stuff with them because I fully believe in their product. And it all goes back to where I started, which is the financials. Where, what data, what hillbilly math do you have to make the best decisions?
Yeah, so the data, and that's the thing, is the data is the most important part of any business, I think. And what's funny is me first getting into business, I never thought about the data as much until after I met you.
You say data or data?
I say data, just like I say gala. I don't say gala or data. I think it's stupid. All right, just I say route. I don't say route.
Gala. I say gala. I say gala.
But
anyways,
it's important. And I never realized the importance of it until after you and I started talking. Like probably after the first year, I realized, okay, I'm dealing with someone who is data driven in his decisions for business. And for me, I was new to the business. My mom was new to the business. And you have to learn those things, right? You have to take it from someone who, even if you look at them like, hey, I don't really know them, they're on different sides of the earth as me. But what they're doing, I can implement that into what I'm doing and I can see success too. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on. Timmy Wells said he has all three done by the same person or company, which is great. I will say this. There's nothing wrong with that. I would challenge you though to separate the tax prep from the accountant. And the only reason why is so behind me, it's funny, I had this up here. Behind me is one of my storage facility properties, right? And this is like my to-do list and bullshit. But the one thing that we made sure we did with our tax prep is got someone who has experience in commercial properties. And in our case, they actually are investing in some of their own. So we can have that relatable knowledge between us and say, hey, I'm learning from this guy who not only does it himself, but here's why he does it himself. And if you have a financial advisor, the first thing I ever talk to them about is what would you do for your own finances? Because that's what I'd like to do. So when it comes to an accountant and a tax prep, I keep those separated because for me, I can get an accountant anywhere. No offense to any accountant out there, but to me, an accountant's job is very important, but it's also very draw the line in the sand. The tax prep guy for me, I want to make sure they have relevance in the industry, and I can learn from them the reasons why they're going to be doing things the way they're doing. Because at the end of the day, they will not do things that you don't tell them to do. And if you don't know why something and you don't know what to tell them, you can ask them the differences. And they'll legally be able to say, hey, here is what you get with here, here's what you get with here, and here's why.
Correct. Depreciation. Do you want to write it? Yeah. Do you want to write it out this year, next year? What do you want to do? And here's the implications of it. A good accountant is like a good lawyer. They will tell you your options, the ramification of your options, and then they'll say, what do you want to do? And eventually you'll figure out a cadence, right? Like, what does that look like? And again, we talked about profit first in the past, right? Implementing profit first, like, hey, how much money do you want to make? And, what does that look like? And then that's all part of it too, right? And you talk to your accountant from day one. Hey, I send my pro forma to my accountant every year. Hey, here's the pro forma. Yeah. So he can say, like, okay, this is what we need to put aside, right? Percentage wise, based on if that's what you're going to do, this is what we need to put a percentage wise aside every month. So you have money at the end of the year to pay taxes, right? Because the standard, like 15% aside that profit first recommends might not be the best dollar amount for you, right?
No.
Figure out what the dollar amount is and put that aside every year and have a conversation about that.
Yeah. So February for me was a banging month. Like, I'll be honest, it was very unexpected, but I had a really good February.
Yeah.
And the one thing I did immediately was I reverted back to my January and say, okay, I got through January on this amount. I'm going to see if I can get through February on this amount. And then this excess, this surplus of funds, I'm going to disperse to these 3 criteria. And what I like to do is I use percentages. It changes sometimes. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 12 or 15. But when I talk to my tax prep person, I ask them, hey, first year, I want to know, how can I avoid certain taxes legally? Obviously, I mean, I don't give a shit either way, but for him, and he'll let me know. And then I'll say, okay, second year, what is a good strategy for me to use this year? That way it sets me up for the next year, because eventually I'm going to have a really big fat, profit potentially at the end of this 4 or 5 year, whatever, whenever we do the refi. The last thing I want to do is get screwed. So he teaches us a lot of different things that we can do with our tax prep. Whereas the accountant is kind of like, hey, look, you have all these sources of funds coming in. This is how you need to organize them. And I was like, okay. So for instance, I keep petty cash separated from our main bank account. And the only reason why is because last week I had to go replace a freaking converter. And I wasn't about to go to the bank account to pull out $1,200. I'd rather just dip into the cash and be like, all right. And then this week we're cleaning out one of our offices so we could rent it out. And I got real creative because of my junk removal history, I guess you could say. I hired 2 crackheads. And the 2 crackheads, they live on my property. And they're like, hey, I figured out they were lying to me, and they're actually 3 months behind on rent. So I gave them an option. I was like, look, we can go through eviction. Not going to be fun for anyone, but I'll call the sheriff's department, because both of them have warrants, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're not felons. I'm like, I don't care. You have warrants, so it gives me leverage. So I said, look, I'll make you a deal. I have a lot of shit that needs to be cleaned up so I can get this place rented out. And if you can do it within 7 days, I'll squash your debt. And dude, yesterday, day 1, they sent me a picture. Holy crap. I was impressed. I was like, damn. And I told them, you can keep anything you want. Any money you get from any of the scrap or anything you can keep. I don't care.
Yeah.
It needs to be done in 7 days or less. So, that helps me out a lot. I don't have to spend money. I'm already lost $1,500 from them over the past 3 months.
You're not getting that back.
Yeah. So I immediately called my accountant and said, hey, you can already go put minus $1,500 and $100, because I thought we were going to be getting it from the previous owner, because we still had the trends. It was a shit show. So I was like, hey, he was still getting checks, so he's giving it to us, whatever. But I told my accountant, I was like, hey, we're not going to see that $1,500. Like, let's just put it. He goes, put it down as an expense. Is there anything you have to spend money on right now? I said, actually, yes. Those same people that are behind on rent. And he goes, that's perfect. That's a $1,500 job. And you know what?
Right. That's how,
for me, that works because,
that's how I bought my forklift. We bought a forklift as credit towards a job, because we cleaned out. This is our latest forklift, and it was an accounting function, and we just depreciated it, and we're depreciating over the 1 year, so it doesn't hit my books all. But again, these are the conversations you have with your accountant. What I did not understand when I first got into business was all these people, and I still see it to this day. I had a guy reach out to me like 2 weeks ago. Hey, can you help me with my numbers? I think I'm doing them wrong. And I looked at his numbers. I go, I cannot make sense of this, right? Because he just tracked how much money he had at the end of the week. I'm like, well, there's not a starting point. Number of jobs, what were your tickets, how much revenue? Oh yeah, but it was the last thing. Well, then I can't tell you shit, because if you got an oil change that week, well, then you're down $90. I don't know.
Hmm.
right? You track everything. We've talked about this before. Track everything when you're first in business. You don't know what you need. Earlier today,
Hmm.
Chris, our marketing guy, he made a comment about events. You know, event spend. We always spend a lot of money Q1 on events, and then he's like, "Yeah, at one point last year it was like it was in the yellow because we have green, yellow, red for our three tiers of whether or not we're profitable on a marketing expense because it's generally in the red throughout the year because events we don't
Hmm.
do great on events. It's more awareness and meeting people and less actually closing deals per se. And so he's like, yeah, there was a time last year where we were actually in the yellow. Like, oh, let's take a look. So I went back to like March and April and May of last year, and like, yeah, April we were in the yellow. So it's like, okay, let's anticipate being in the yellow this year. We tracked it, and we always track it. So then we know it, and then when we have a hypothesis, we can check to see if it's right. There's so many times where people in our company have been like, oh, I think this is what's going on. It's like, well, what data do you have to support that? Is it a
Hmm.
thought, or do we have something tangible we can chew on that actually supports this hypothesis? And again, data
How do
driven
you
decisions is the key.
do you usually budget based on average or high, like a high value? So like for like okay, for instance, if I'm like if you average out the past 5 years of what you spent Q1 in events. So
yeah,
in order to
great.
create that budget, are you going to go high with it or average? Because I usually go high with my budget to
It
come in
depends.
underneath.
It depends what the expense is. So
Yeah, that's
like
true.
fuel, right? Like fuel, I go average.
Hmm.
Disposal, I go average. Labor, I go no, I pretty much go average, or I even go below average because I'm getting aggressive. I want to drive the number down. Right on my pro
Hmm.
forma, I'm like, hey, I want, especially on this is variable expense. Fixed expense is fixed
Yeah.
expense, right? My rent is what my rent is. Insurance is what insurance is. Like I know I'm on a 10-month cycle on insurance. I think, yeah. So I start paying in March, and I pay it off by December every year. So January, February, I don't get a bill for insurance only because my policy renews in March, and it makes more sense to get paid by the end of the year. And actually, it's nice because then January, February, when I'm typically light on money because it's slower months,
Hmm.
I don't get hit with big insurance bills, right?
Yeah.
No, I always go average. I go average, and then I adjust, and if I adjust, if anything, I adjust to being more aggressive.
Down. Yeah.
Absolutely, or up, right? Like so, for example, like when it comes to revenue, I'm like, this is where we're at. This is where we need to go. And then, yeah, and then I go beyond. So like last year we were at the number. I didn't like the number going into this year, and so I just upped it like 70,000 to make it an even number, right? Like so, I'm like, all right, this is what I think we can grow, and I'm going to add another 70,000. So right,
Yeah.
like that's it, right? So I'm going to add another
Well, the odd,
$5,000 a month essentially because that's where I want to fucking go, right?
well,
And I
we're
like
putting
nice even numbers.
we're putting a marketing plan together for a couple of our storage places, right? And
Yeah.
the one thing that we're putting into it is things that we haven't done before, which are going to cost more because we've never done it, and we don't know the outcome. It really is an experiment, but that's what the funds are for. And
Yep.
the one thing I was looking at is, so for instance, billboards. This goes back into it. We're doing a directional billboard at the intersection of a highway and a county road.
What do you mean by
Well,
directional?
it literally says, "Hey, down this road,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
the
storage.
storage." You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
it tells you where you're going,
Got it.
where
Yeah.
we want you to go, whatever. So Bucky's does a lot of directional when they say, "Hey,
Yeah.
150,000 miles until you can go piss,"
No,
whatever.
I know we got one in Wisconsin that's like
But
482 miles to your next Bucky's. And I'm like, that's
yeah,
fucking and it works though.
yeah,
Here we
it
are in
does, and
Wisconsin
that's the
talking
thing
about
is,
Bucky's and it's 500 miles away.
yeah. So we're putting up a directional at the end of the road, and we know we're going to keep it up there all year. It's going to be a 12-month investment. And the reason why is because where we are, it's growth. It really is. And if you look at any kind of marketing, would you really want to take that down? I mean, when it says, "Hey, go here for what I want you to need." I mean, that's pretty much what it's saying. Now, the other side of this marketing plan is we updated our signage on the site, but we didn't update our Google listing yet. So we're about to put some stuff in the Google listing, but we're not going to be spending on ads. And a lot of people are like, "Why aren't you going to spend money on Google ads?" And for me, the main reason is where we are. I don't want to pop up on a little blip of radar of the other storage across town that have
Yeah.
way more money than we do, because I'm not going to get into an ad spend war with them. I'd rather
Yeah.
just rely on my directional and then also our Google listing and say, "Hey, look, start leaving good reviews." So what we put this plan together, we went high with our budget, and I guess it's first year, so it's really hard to kind of go off of that. But my hopes are, I know hope is not something you like to hear, but
Hope is on a plan.
my
It's in my book.
well my
Did you not? Did
my
you not see what?
outcome my outcome
There we
my
go.
outcome
Ideal
that
outcome.
I'm
End
wanting
state. The end state in
is,
mind.
yeah, the end state I'm wanting is, even if, let's just say, 10 grand a month, which is not our budget, but that's insane. Let's just say 10 grand a month is our high end, right? I'd
Yes, thank
like
you.
to get to the point where at the end of the year, it's like, you know what? That high end is now our mid. Like that was actually fine with us. We can actually
Yeah.
raise it if we want to, and either pocket
Well,
the change or, inflate that number a little bit more.
so last year we overspent on our marketing budget, and we knew we did, and we continued to
Hmm.
spend. And that was a data-driven decision. It wasn't like, oh, hey, we're over budget, let's stop spending money. It's like, okay, I know how much over budget we are, and I'm still willing to
Hmm.
spend. And there's things obviously you buy in November, December that carry into the next year, right? Pre-signing up, and normally they're relatively expensive items, right? You do a $1,200, $1,500 trade show, and you save $200 by paying before the end of the year. Like that's beneficial. That's a win-win for everybody,
Yeah.
snap on the credit card, pay it off in 60 days, 40 days, whatever your next credit card bill. So it's still worth it. Anyways, yes, to your point, hope is not a plan. I'm going to use that as a plug. Words fucking matter. Hope is not a plan. It's in the book. There's your plug. Go buy it. GovRo thinks it's fucking awesome. So there you go. Loved it. If you're still listening, if you're out there, GovRo, throw up what your top takeaway from the book is. I'm always interested to hear what resonates. And what's interesting is when I wrote the book, what I thought, right, what my hypothesis was of what would resonate with people the most has not come to fruition. So again, data-driven decisions. I make decisions now on what I speak about in my workshops based off of what resonates with people the most that have read the book. Dylan Pruitt, keep rocking it, fellas. The Missouri, I want to say he's a Missouri guy. He's an
Yeah,
e-waste guy.
Missouri.
Midwest e-waste guy. Dylan, we hung out with him.
Adonis Electric Waste or something. Remember, he sold his company to a bigger one. They bought him out, and now I think he does, like, he's still a part of it. He did what you're supposed to do. He sold his company, became an employee of it. Like, it's amazing. Good for him.
Yeah, sell your company, be an employee of it. Yeah, that's yeah. There you go. All right, I'm Jones.
What was the name of the book? Words fucking matter.
What's the name of the book? Kevin Hess. Words fucking matter. Available on Amazon. I will throw up the link. And I'm Jones and open another one of these packs.
Dude, you're about to make me go to my truck and get the baseball cards, but they're already open.
Hey, you know what? They've been sitting here for a month, and here we are. Currently 4.9 star rating, Amazon bestseller with seven. What do you call? Holy shit, that's a long ass fucking link, Jack. I don't know how to do that. All right, I'll probably
shorten that up, man.
Holy shit, that's like. All right, there's Taylor's. I can hear Taylor laughing in the other room. Taylor, find a way to make that thing shorter, or just go to AndyWeins.com. How about we just do that? AndyWeins.com. You can get the book there. All right. I'm Jones. I'm gonna open another pack. It's a good ass book. It's about a 90-minute read. It's written at a 5th grade reading level, so it's in line with military.
You know what? Real quick, I want to go into this right here because this reminds me of some shit right here. Follow, you fucking mean it. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna talk about this while you're opening those cards. For your listeners out there, look, we're all in leadership positions. Okay, we are. But I will say this: I have found this out over the years. Military, post-military, whatever. The best leaders know when to follow and who to follow. And more importantly, they know how to follow. Me, for instance, I'm working with someone. We're doing this big nonprofit gala bullshit. I don't have experience doing any of that.
Am I coming down for that? You said I was going to talk to
this. This isn't the same thing. This is a fundraiser.
No,
I mean, you can, but it's not your audience. If that makes any sense.
All right, it's fine. I'm good with that. I got cards to read off.
Our keynote is actually it's a ranger who got burnt to like 75% of his body, no hands. Name's Mike Schlitz, little power hitter. But anyways, I don't put on galas. I don't do events. The guy that we hired to organize this charity fundraiser, he's my boss. That's how I look at it. We hired him. I listen to what he says. We talk every week, sometimes multiple times a week, and he lets me know how I can get the most successful event. So if I'm not willing to work with him, and do what he says, right? Because that's all he does. He's one of the
Yep.
most successful in the country. Then I can't expect the results, right? So a lot of us get this pride issue, like, hey, who are you to tell me how to do things?
Yeah.
But what I challenge you to do, if you have a manager, a general manager, operations manager, whatever, I challenge you to start treating them like they are your manager, because a lot of the times
Mm.
you will overshadow better ideas and better processes because you're the boss, you're the fucking leader,
Sure.
and you kind of what do you silence them without actually telling them to shut up. And that's one thing I learned later on when I got Augie in as my operations manager. I actually started asking him his advice more so than, hey, what do you think about what I said? No, I'm like, what do you think we should do in this situation? How would you go about this? And I'd let him go first, because if I say it, it kind of goes bias, right? Hey, Augie, I'm going to do this. What do you think about that? Well, as an employee, he might see that as a conflict to say, oh, I don't like it. So instead of doing that, I'd say, hey, Augie, this situation, here's all the facts. What do you think about, the solution? Like, what solution
Yeah.
would you bring to the
Yeah. Yeah.
table?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then next thing you know it, he is running my business. And
Mm.
I wish I would have done that earlier with the previous guy, because I would have
Yep.
found out real quick he's not a leader.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just wanted to put that out there, man. Like, that chapter in your book,
Yeah.
it fucking means something, man.
No, and it's interesting the way you brought that up. That is 100% why I let go uh the president of our company, is because it was this piston match of when I told him to do stuff, he would argue, and then I'd be like, all right, cool. I stopped telling him, and I was like, all right, here's the problem. Here are the facts. What should we do about it? And there was
Mm.
almost never an answer. It was, well, we need to achieve this. It's like, yeah, no shit. We both know what we need to achieve. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I, without even in line, so this last week when I was on vacation, going into the vacation, Casey, our we call it project manager, fleet commander, whatever. He also runs the warehouse.
Mhm.
And going into it, we knew he had to reset the warehouse. And I said to him, I said, hey, what's your plan? Because it's real simple. State a plan. I want to hear a solution. I want to poke holes in a solution, and then I want him to go execute. So I say the plan. I say, hey, what's your what the problem, right? The warehouse needs to be reset. I said, what's your plan? And he told me his plan, and I poked a few holes, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Tell me more. What do you anticipate this problem? And once he had enough, because some things like, yeah, once I move things around, I got to see how they fit. It's like, we know mathematically they'll fit, but you got to move pallets around, right? And then it was a great thing. I even said this to a couple people. It was a blessing that I was gone this last week, and they did the warehouse reset the week I was gone, because I couldn't
Mhm.
come here and interject and fuck it up. And today, since I've been here, I haven't gone out to the warehouse yet, because Casey's been gone most of the day doing estimates. So as soon as we're done with this podcast, I'm gonna go walk the warehouse with him, because I want to see his logic and I want to see what his plan
Oh, it's
is,
kind of like the
and then
McDonald's
we can
job
adjust.
in Atlanta.
McDonald's, yeah, 100%,
In
yeah,
Atlanta, you kept getting in the middle of shit, and it was actually making it worse. And
yeah,
what you really need to do is back up and
yeah. Set the
go
expectation and
back
then
to your
walk
room
away.
and do emails. Yeah,
100%, yeah. That's where I do
yeah,
my
and
best
that's
work.
but but to your defense, it's so natural and routine to
Yeah.
interject, because hey, this is how I would do things, and you're not really thinking, hey, this is the best way everyone could do this. Not,
Oh yeah.
you see what I'm saying? You're thinking this
100.
is the best way I think we should do this. You
Correct.
got
As a
1,500
leader,
people looking at it.
yeah. And as a leader,
You know,
I want correct. As a leader, I want to be a servant that gives people the answers, not ask them the questions. All right. Speaking of giving people the answers, Marlon Maxey, never heard of him. The old checklist. These are the worst, right? 14 cards, you get a checklist. I don't want a fucking checklist. Tellis Frank, Timberwolves, never heard of him. Matt Weinstorm, rookie free agent, nobody. Sam Cassell rookie card, no big deal. Sam Cassell rookie card. Of course, that was one of the ones that's sticking, so it's got dots all over it. We'll put that in the keep pile. We'll put that in
basketball.
the maybe
Keep
pile.
forgetting it's basketball. I'm like, these do not
Oh,
sound
here we
familiar.
go. LeBradford Smith, never heard of him. Here we go. Here's the one. Here's a good one. Rebound King, not a great picture. Shaquille O'Neal. The year before that would have been, I can't for the life of me. My brain doesn't know how to do things sometimes. Come on, autofocus. There you go. Shaquille O'Neal, Rebound King. That's in the good pile. Here we go. Isaiah Thomas. There's a great story about Isaiah Thomas. He was on the USA team, obviously not the Olympic team. Basically, he didn't make the Olympic team because Jordan didn't like him. And no one will actually admit to that, and yet it's the dead truth. Mark Price, the card that looks like shit because it was sticky. Most of these cards are sticky. So if they were worth something, they're worth less now. Hershey Hawkins, I remember him. Charlotte Hornets. My brother Isaac's favorite color is the teal from the original Charlotte Hornets. Throwing that out there. Now they're, New Orleans? No. What are the Charlotte Hornets now? They're not in Charlotte anymore.
But they were
the Bobcats. Don McLean, Bullets, back when we had the Bullets, the Washington Bullets, before they were the Wizards. Andrew Lang, Tom Hammonds, John Sally. Big fan of John Sally. Mostly his work on podcasting and shit talking. John Sally with the Heat, he was more famous for being one of the bad boys, Detroit Pistons. Come on, AutoZoom. That's what I gotta do. There you go. I gotta cover up my face. That's what it is, right? Is it my face? Not my face. All right. Ring light. There we go. John Sally. Okay. We opened 2 decks of cards. I'll be honest, not nearly as gratifying as I thought it was going to be. So
no,
I set expectations. I had a theory, and everything went to shit. All right, let's go through the comments. Did we hit everybody? We did everybody. Thank you. Kevin Hess. Never heard. Do we know Kevin Hess? I don't know if I know this guy. Kevin Hess.
He kind of reminds me of where's he from? Can't click on his profile. I want to see what state he's out of.
That's a lot of work. All right. Well, there's that. You know what? We didn't even get to Jordan Peterson. You know what? I'll plug my other show, Andy Weins Live, every Monday, 3:30 Central, Atlanta, ATL. There we go, Kevin Hess. I'm from Atlanta originally, Stone Mountain, Decatur, Illinois, Atlanta. That's where DeKalb County, Decatur, Atlanta. That's what it says on my birth certificate. And then we lived in Stone Mountain. So if you know where that is, Stone Mountain, huge fan, big fan of Stone Mountain.
And then Georgia.
Atlanta, yeah. Georgia, the capital of the South. Before Sherman came by and burned it, no big deal. 1864, not a great year. 64, 63, 64. All right. So what I did not get to, and I started plugging, I talked about Jordan Peterson. I got to see Jordan Peterson last night live at the Riverside here in Milwaukee. Talk about We Who Wrestle with God, his new book tour. It was awesome. We did not talk about it here on the Trash Talk Business Podcast. However, you can take a listen if you go over to my LinkedIn page or YouTube, as I am. Andy Weins Live will officially be a podcast later this month. So thus far, it's been a video only, and so we have 25 episodes already. It's hard for me to believe it's already been 6 months, basically. And so that'll be. Taylor just said the Charlotte Hornets are Charlotte Hornets once again. They were the Bobcats from 04 to 10. They switched back to the Hornets. There we go.
Gotcha.
See, that's what, you know what? As I said it a lot, I'm like, I think they're back to the Hornets.
Yeah, that's why they keep pushing those jackets. So back in the 90s, that turquoise jacket was.
Hold on. Weren't they the New Orleans? They were New Orleans. There were the New Orleans Hornets at one point. That's what it was.
They were.
Is Charlotte Hornets
Charlotte
New Orleans?
Yeah.
The New Orleans Hornets turned into the New Orleans Pelicans. Charlotte Bobcats turned into the Hornets. I'm saying that with some level of confidence, and yet we can also go to Wikipedia. That's it. Charlotte Hornets, based in Charlotte, NBA, originally 1988. In 2002, they relocated to New Orleans, which became the Pelicans. Michael Jordan, former NBA player, greatest of all time. Don't even care what you say about anybody else.
I agree.
Acquired a minority stake in the Bobcats in 2016 or 2006 and became the majority owner, and they announced they would rebrand as the Charlotte Hornets. Question is, when did the Bobcats start? A lot of things going on here. Anyways, I only recently found out that teal is my brother Isaac's favorite color of all time. And my sister had these, my sister, someone I knew. My sister had
the jacket.
Suns. You had the pullover, the Charlotte Hornets.
No, that wind jacket.
The starter jacket. The starter pullover.
Yeah.
I had a
pullover.
Yeah. I had the Packer one. My sister had a Phoenix Suns one. Back in 97, 98, that was about as hot as it got. Starter pullover jackets.
When the windsuits were awesome.
Oh yeah, dude. The wind
Remember
didn't
the
stand a chance.
windbreakers? Woo,
Windbreaker. The wind did not stand a chance.
they
All right.
didn't.
So
Don't forget our next episode, by the way.
yeah, next
We're gonna make
episode. Yeah, next week. That's our next episode. Next week. We do not have a guest yet. See, we're supposed to tease it with a guest. However, this week was a scheduled no guest because we wanted to sit and bullshit. So that worked out. And next week's a no guester as it sits right now, unless you want to be the guest.
It was a
on next week's
reschedule.
episode. It was a reschedule. Yeah, I know. And now we have
So
open abilities.
yeah.
So
I mean, hell, I might reach out to someone and be like, "Hey, look, who is someone we haven't talked to who could provide value without boring people?"
that is correct. Or who is someone that has a problem that needs to be solved that we can solve, right? Like those, I thought last week's episode with Taylor, that was the reschedule. This was a schedule, you and I only. Anyways, last week's episode with Taylor was great because we did cost of goods sold exercise. That I had a great time. I don't know what the listeners, I would love to hear what your perspective was on solving issues. I do have a guy I reached out to. He reached out to me earlier today. I might get him on the podcast. He wants to know how to interior demo of a 1,100 square foot house. We'll see if he has time for the project, then we'll have him on the podcast.
Hand grenade and shovels and some brooms.
Yes. All right. And Taylor said, well, you could tease season 3 coming out in a couple episodes. So season 3, I guess, officially starts with episode 105. So we were on episode 102. And season 3 means nothing other than we have 2 years behind us. That's it. And that's it. Because we've already started the transition where we're working on the whole entrepreneur. And we are selecting guests that are going to be more beneficial to the entire person, right? First year was about tactical junk removal. Then it was about the business owner last year and strategy. This year is about the whole entrepreneur and going next level, big picture. And again, not every guest yet. Starting to work more of those guests in because we saw last year the most engagement we were getting was when we were bringing in guests that were outside of the industry and sometimes outside of business to talk about different ideals in this world. There we go.
I think I should ask Chris Gronkowski if he'd want to be on the show. I mean, he's a small business owner, and
yeah, get him on.
He hired me in the very beginning to clean out a warehouse, and then
yeah, Chris.
I mean, we have
Chris.
All started with junk removal.
It all started with junk removal. Let's hire Chris.
Yeah,
there you go. All right, top takeaways from today's show, Casey. We'll start with you. Top takeaways.
Takeaways are: make sure you have a separation of power and state in your business. And the reason I say that is because it's very easy. Tim, I'm not picking on you. It's easy to go to a one-stop shop. It is. But I recommend shopping for the specialty because you want that. This is the same reason I only go to about 3 different insurance providers when it comes to junk removal. They are very, what's the word I'm looking for? They know the business. They're used to the business. They're used to dealing with different size junk removal clients. And for me, I'm like, okay, I get there's 1,000 or 1,000 insurance companies, but y'all specialize in this industry. So for me, I think if you're going with a tax prep, I would shop around, just get warm and fuzzy with a couple that could possibly have an interest in that industry, whether it be home services or even real estate, because they will help you. I think it'll be a little different in my personal opinion. That way you don't have to always rely on the same person to do your books, your accounting, and your tax prep. Because also, lastly, if that motherfucker does something illegal and goes to jail, you just lost all 3 of those.
That's an interesting take. That got awfully aggressive really quick. My top takeaway coming into today is with Jordan Peterson last night. One of the things he kept saying, the adventure of your life. I keep looking over my whiteboard because that's where I wrote it down. The adventure of your life. And so that's what this is all about. That's what this podcast is about. That's what living my junk removal dream is all about. I joke about growing and scaling my junk removal dream, and yet I'm living the adventure of a life. I haven't had a job in 8 years. I'm unemployable. This is what I love doing. I love having a junk removal company. I love the fact that last week I was on vacation, and my company with our amazing team continue to move the ball forward, and yet they still also need me to a certain extent, right? I can come back now here today and impact the organization, and that's the adventure of my life right now. is growing and scaling this business and then seeking out other opportunities to grow and scale other people's businesses by giving them the information for free. Jordan Peterson puts his lectures on the internet free of charge. You can watch it on YouTube. No different than us. We spend an hour a week having conversations to let people see behind the layers, if you will, to learn about junk removal and listen to business people talk. Or maybe people are listening to this as for pure entertainment purposes while they're working that job, getting ready for that career, right? Or they want to see that, you know what, there is the grind and the struggle that other people are going through. So for that, it is about the adventure of my life. And for that, I'm thankful to our listeners, and I'll throw out nice job and jobber, nice job and jobber for allowing us to continue doing what we're doing here in the junk removal space. So that's my top takeaway. And a little gratitude. Gratitude goes a long way. No big deal. Getting all sappy, getting soft on you guys. All right. Anything else for the good of the group, Casey, or we're going to move on with our lives?
Y'all get ready. Q1 is gone. Get ready.
Q1 is gone.
Just as fast as it freaking showed up, it is gone. So
yes,
I hope you got
episode 105, 106. I will tease that. We'll have Annie Barton back on the show for quarterly Barton updates to talk about how gone Q1 is. So without further ado, I'm Andy Weins. He's Casey Bubba Lawrence, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com.